Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and guess what? You already know. It's Wednesday, and you know what happens on Wednesday. It's 360-degree health, and my main man, Dr. Michael Mantell, is here again and again and again, and we got an absolutely fantastic show. How you doing, Dr. Mike?
I'm doing great. I love being here again and again and again. And again, and look forward to again. It's always great to be with both of you and our fellow friends at KCBQ.
Absolutely, and we got the exec producer and one of the co-hosts, Dr. Michelle Cooley. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Wow, we got this. I'm excited about the show. I'm not going to give it away. We're going to lock the radio, television, all the live streaming platforms, everything in at the same time. And we're going to just get understanding because we're in search of wisdom. And we're going to talk about a little bit of that today. How you doing, Todd? How you doing, man?
I'm always good. And I love when I see Dr. Mantell because I know it's 360 health and it's Wednesday. That means it's hump day. We're halfway through there. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm pretty sure it's not another train. You ready to lock in?
Hey, I'm ready to lock everything in, man. Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Lock it in. 3, 2, 1.
Hello.com. It's Your Life is sponsored by James J.C. Cooley.
Dr. James J.C. Cooley. The James Cooley Show.
Hello. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and it's Wednesday. 360-degree health. And every Wednesday, I tell you, the great Dr. Michael Mantell joined us, and he always brings one of the world's top-notch physician, educator, MD, just all type of things dealing with 360-degree health. And it's not always just from a medical perspective. It's from a fitness perspective and a mental perspective. So, Doc, I'm excited about the show today. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. We're going to learn a lot today. And hopefully we're going to grow a little wiser today from this magnificent, brilliant physician and author and expert. Phenomenal. It's going to be an incredible hour of discussion and learning.
I'm excited about it. How you doing, Dr. Cooley? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. We have this amazing guest on the show today, and she's going to discuss her book and the different aspects and the different, I guess, items related to specific topic today.
Well, I'm looking, forward to it. And I tell you what, our viewers out there, whichever platform that you're watching us on, whether you're watching us on E36 TV, Transfer TV, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, over 68 live different platforms. Welcome to the show. And if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform, ask any question that you might have. And I promise you, go to the comments, put it in the comments, ask any question that you might have, and we'll get you an answer. Or you can pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. Michelle, I can't wait to get started. Can you please introduce the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely magnificent guest?
Yes, the title of today's show is 360-Degree Health, Common Wisdom. And we're having a sit-down discussion with Dr. Laura Gabayan. She's a published physician researcher, associate professor of emergency medicine, UCLA, Geffen School of Medicine. She's going to talk about her new book, Common Wisdom, how to define wisdom, what constitutes wisdom, how can we harness the power of wisdom to improve our everyday life. Again, she has interviewed 60 wise individuals ages 50 to 79 years across North America and arrived at 8 elements of wisdom. As described in the book and through the eyes of interviewees, having wisdom means having a deeper perspective of life, a life of more meaning and value. And we can't wait for her to tell us all about it. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Laura Gabayan.
Thank you for having me.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
I
Hello
think we can
there.
do better than that. I think we can do.
Ah,
Hello?
Dr. G, they're giving you a standing ovation.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome to the show, Dr. G. It's an absolute pleasure having you on. And I
Thank
know
you for having me.
I'm always in my speeches and a lot of things I do, I always talk about wisdom on what I believe it takes to attain it. And many times in my experiences, I believe that wisdom just don't come overnight. I mean, we have to search for it, we have to work for it, and we have to want to learn. So, I'm gonna start off with, can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit more about you, where you grew up at, what get you excited, and why you're so passionate about what you do?
So, I was born in the Middle East. I came here when I was 6. And I went to med school. I went to undergrad, med school, residency, and did more training in learning about research, all at UCLA. And I was busy publishing in science. So physicians can either be a clinical physician or be a physician in science that sees patients and does research. And so I was busy publishing in science. And then 2013, my body started to fall apart. And it has continued. As you can tell, my speech is not clear. And that's when I think it took me many years, because I had people question it, and it took me at least 4 or 5 years. That's when I realized that I'm not getting better. Let me pursue a different route. And I noticed also that the physicians that I knew, the people, the things I learned, everyone was ready to label me, to give me a diagnosis. And the only people that thought outside the box were the wise. And so then I was like, well, I have no idea what wisdom is. And I don't know how to study. I don't know anything about it, but I do know how to study something. And so I pursued, I went forward and I studied wisdom. And so to study anything, you have to look at the literature and understand what has been done in academia before. And that's when I realized, well, wisdom has an inverse relationship with age, meaning only the 8 people aged 50 to in their 70s, 50s, 60s, and 70s are the wise ones. And then it also is not different based on gender, race, or political affiliation. It is different based on region. So that's why we select North America. For example, wisdom from Europe would be different than wisdom from here. And that's when and the only people who can identify wisdom are other humans. There were tests, there were surveys, there were a bunch of things, but no one could really identify a wise person. So then I was like, okay, so I hired a research assistant, I hired someone to a marketing specialist, and we told the world, do you know someone wise? And that's when we came up with the 60. Initially, I would say probably around 20. I got similar answers, but that was being a scientist, that was not enough for me. And you're technically with this type of research, where when you're taking like a story and converting it to data, when you get to a point where you hear similar things, you're supposed to stop. So I just kept going, and I was like, no, I'm not going to stop. And I kept going, and I stopped at 60. And that's where I am. That's when I wrote a book.
So, Dr. G, I want to, first of all, I my mind is racing with so many things to comment on. Magnificent introduction. So, first thing I hope that listeners and viewers are hearing and seeing is that a setback, whether it's health or whatever it may be, in the mind of a wise person like yourself, Dr. G, you used to bolt forward and study this area and then come up with this magnificent book. By the way, the book is called Common Wisdom. You can get it everywhere. And it's not a deep, hard read. It's a straightforward read. It's easy to read. So I encourage everyone. But I have a question for you. Yes. So what was the most surprising answer that you received in your study? And did any of them challenge your preconceived notion about wisdom?
So I did not really know much about wisdom to begin with. I did know that, those are the people that kind of did not judge, did not label, and they thought outside the box, and I want to talk to them. And being a researcher, you can't meddle with who you choose at all, and you can't meddle with the outcome. When I found the 8 elements, and I'll say them right now: resilience, kindness, positivity, spirituality, humility, tolerance, creativity, and curiosity. And when I found these 8 common elements, right, they were common because it was common wisdom, I was really surprised by kindness. I grew up in the Middle East, and kindness was not something that was respected. It was not something my parents taught me. It was just not something that was talked about. And yet the people I spoke with were not only kind in their actions, they were kind in having nonprofits if they were part of volunteering. They surrounded themselves with kindness. So they're kind to people around them. They wanted kind friends. And then they also were kind to themselves.
So is kindness is an important part of wisdom. Caring goes in that same category, doesn't it?
Of course.
Yeah.
So that's how we started the research project. Is we had different kind of traits or themes with over 20, and we collapsed them. So under positivity, for example, we had people who were very grateful, fell into that, and also people who were very funny, humor and gratitude fell into positivity. So we collapse them into those 8 themes.
And how does this fit into what we understand about the pillars of emotional health? The 8 things that you just described. I don't have them memorized the way you do, so I have to read them. But it's resilience, kindness, positivity, spirituality, humility, tolerance, creativity, curiosity. It sounds from a psychological perspective, you are describing a very emotionally balanced, healthy person.
Well, I feel like, I've thought about this a lot, and I've thought about the 8. The 8 elements are a secret sauce to living a
Dr. G,
meaningful life.
Dr. G, hold that thought because we got to take a station break. But
Sure.
I don't want our viewers to miss any of this. Plus, I don't want to miss any of you. And so we're going to take a station break. But we're going to come back. We're going to pick it up where we left off. Dr. Mike, you got to ask that question again to remind our viewers. So I tell you what, if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is just go to the platform that you're watching this on. Ask any questions that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. Or you can pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. It's your life. And we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
A Black Man's Point of View is the newest Amazon.
Hey, 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 hey. The James Cooley Show. It's your life. Dr. James JC Cooley. Hey.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and I tell you, we got this absolutely fantastic guest here. We call her Dr. G. Dr. G. And she's educating us on a topic that Dr. Mike, I don't think we discussed this before.
This is the first.
and I am, I was trying to just soak it all in the first segment, but the first segment is always by getting a chance to know the guests. And just getting an understanding where we open it up for the second segment, third segment, fourth one, where we go off into the meat of this. And so I tell you what, whichever platform that you're watching us on, won't you become a part of the conversation? All you have to do is go to the comments, ask any question that you might have. I promise you we'll get you an answer. Or you can pick up the phone and call Todd at 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. 1170. And I think, Doc, we left off at you was talking about the 8 elements describing psychological well-being.
Right.
And Dr. G, we had to take that station break. Can we pick it up from there? I don't want our viewers to miss name one of the 8. I said now one of the 8. That's a country of me.
So we were talking, Dr. G, about how the 8 elements of wisdom that you have found in your remarkable research that people can read about very easily and very practically in your book, Common Wisdom. We've been talking about how that sounds like you're describing people with basic psychological health and well-being. And you were starting to talk about a little bit about that. So let's get back into that.
Well, I talk about emotional intelligence in my book. And again, I apologize for slurring. I told you my speech is not great. And I think when I look at the 8, I'm like, it's really important to have, when you connect with someone, right? When you employ any emotional intelligence, you want to be kind, you want to be tolerant, you want to be humble, you want to be curious and creative when you think about that person. And so a lot of the 8 are there to kind of connect with others. Now, resilience is something that you can exude in your own life and other people's life. You can teach others. So resilience is not necessarily a method for connecting, but it's a way to live your life.
And so I want to just talk about one of the part of your research. You gave people 10 questions or so, and you interviewed them for a while at 60 people, and you came up with a scoring of sorts. Now, talk a little bit about that scoring system and how we know whether we are wise or not.
So I had a team of 3 people, and all 3 of us reviewed the online interviews of every single one of those 60. And we assigned them different traits. And as I said, based on the assignment of the trait, we collapsed it into the 8. So as I said, they may have had something else, but they fell into one of the 8. And what I did is I feel that it'll take practice, but we can all work our way towards it. And it won't happen overnight, but it's important for people to realize the first step is to notice how important it is and then to start working on it.
Let's talk about that. How can people actually work on developing greater wisdom? How can we do that?
So with the 8, you may say to yourself, well, I'm really good at this, and I'm not good at that. I never really grew up with being kind. So, and I didn't believe in spirituality at all. I always believed that if you can't see it, it doesn't exist.
Oh my goodness.
And if you don't feel it, it doesn't exist. And so, or if you can't measure it, as a scientist, it doesn't exist. And so it's fun. It's interesting because now I look more to learn about it. And the first step I think is just observing it and knowing that's important. And then start seeing what worked for you, build it, practice it. And so now I realize whatever it may be, if someone says something, I'm like, oh, that was kind. Or if someone does something, I notice it more. And so I think that's all I can do right now. I think it's a step. And that's the key, is just take a small step.
So whether the step is to, let's say, recognize the good in your life, that's
Right.
the positivity, or the humility, stepping back to make room for other people,
Right.
whether, and so forth. Those are ways that you can gain wisdom. Now, let's go one step further. So how do we use wisdom if we want to help someone find meaning or struggling to find fulfillment? How can wisdom help us in that regard?
Well, I think one thing I've noticed, or what was important to me, was wisdom is not end all be all. That's it. We have a definition of 8 different elements. And so if they're encountering an obstacle, so show them the positivity in it, or show them that things do happen for you and not to you, or remind them that, and have them start noticing it and working on it little by little. And as I said, it's not just, okay, the wisdom will help them. It'll be, this one of the elements is what may pull them through.
So was there anything, I think I sort of alluded to this earlier, was there anything that was particularly surprising about these elements? Any particular one?
Well,
Just-
I mentioned kindness was
Yeah.
surprising to me.
Yeah.
I was surprised by the amount of resilience the people had. And that was the first element. That people had gone through horrible, and I say horrible, life events. And yet they were like, well, there was nothing I could do about it. They were at peace, and they were it had this sense of meaning. I spoke with the woman. I will never forget. She has lost 2 husbands, and she was like, "There's nothing I can do about it except laugh. There's only and it wasn't like it didn't matter to her. It was just that she didn't let it affect she wasn't a victim.
Right. She
let
accepted it.
Right.
So before the show began today, you said something that was really so incredibly important, especially today, given the shooting that we just heard about, the tragedy in Winder, Georgia. 4 people were killed. A 14-year-old had a gun, went to the school. The question is, what is getting in the way of wisdom today? With so much information out there, is it harder to be wise?
Well, it's not that important. And I feel like, first of all, knowledge and wisdom are not the same thing. And we all know someone who may have a lot of degrees and may be really smart, but they may not make good decisions. They may not live a good life. They may be very bitter. Or the reverse. We may know someone who's wise and doesn't have all those educational degrees. And so the two are not one or the other. And the second thing with wisdom, when I think about the internet and you think about just the Instagram culture and all of these things that are promoted, wisdom is not promoted at all. Like, for example, humility is the opposite of what Facebook is about. It's all about looking your best and doing your best, and it's just not that. And so wisdom is not respected.
What do you think we can do about that?
I think the key is to raise awareness. And I think, like the shooting, look, I definitely feel like we need to address the whole issue of why someone with like him had a gun. But I think outside of that we are in the middle of a loneliness pandemic, and the internet is making it even worse. So what can we do about it? I think it starts with the parents or family members, or it starts with one person in the family that makes it important.
Right. It goes back to the house, not the gun. The gun is an important part, but you're saying that that's social media, the internet, this infusion of information, showing kids how to have violent games, teaching them about that. That's not helping children grow wisdom. I'm going to toss it back.
I vividly remember I saw one video game that showed cars hitting each other, and I was like, oh, if I get an accident, nothing will happen. So I think that the impression was it wasn't a big deal. So
we're going to throw it back. We're going to Dr. G.
Hold that thought. We got to take a station break.
Yeah.
But we're going to come back, and I want to pick it up with the video game that you're talking about. But we're going to take a station break. We're going to come back. We got a lot more that we're going to discuss with Dr. G. And if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to the platform that you're watching us on, asking the question that you might have, or pick up the phone and dial 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
Craving a slice of Chicago? Listen up! It's Dr. James J.C. Cooley. Yeah! It's the James Cooley Show! It's your life! Hey! Craving a slice of Chicago right here in Temecula wine country? Then dive into legendary Chicago deep dish style pizza at Rosati's Pizza Pub. Piled high with gooey cheese, rich tomato sauce, and your favorite toppings, Rosati's delivers the taste of the Windy City right to your table or front door. Enjoy the cozy pub atmosphere and an impressive selection of Temecula wines. Come on down to Rosati's Pizza Pub for your slice of Chicago right here on Rancho California Road, or order online at myrosatis.com. Rosati's, where Chicago deep dish pizza meets Temecula charm.
The new audio version of his book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, by Dr. James Cooley, on Amazon or wherever books are sold.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you what, really enjoying this great guest, and a lot of people are like, okay, JC, you just sitting in the background, you just listening. That's what I'm doing because I'm absorbing. Remember, I talked about knowledge early in the beginning. I'm absorbing what Dr. G is putting out and Dr. Mike and asking some absolutely fantastic questions. That's not even scripted,
Right.
which makes our show so fantastic because we don't go by no script. We go by a conversation, and especially when you got somebody as interesting as Dr. G, and I mean, she telling you her story that sometimes she had to struggle with certain things, but then in search of wisdom, and the only way that you are going to gather that is through human interaction and surrounding yourself or being around people that understands and that you can learn from. Because if you're the smartest person in the room every time you walk in, there's no way you're gonna reach what we call wisdom. You already there in your mind. So I want to pick it back up from there. And you had mentioned something about humor that's so important in everything we do. Even through trials and tribulation, we still have to have a sense of humor in order to balance things out. At least I believe that. And Dr. G, can you talk about that a little bit more?
So it's funny because when you mentioned silliness, I recall interviewing a Presbyterian minister, and he most of the time had a clown nose on his nose, and he was talking about how it's he didn't mention, he was just like, oh, that was just part of what he did, and cracking jokes, and was important for him, and he believed in a quote that apparently it's many different quotes from the Bible of laugh often and fear not. Laugh often and fear not. And so he believed in that, and he felt like that's how he ran his life. And I tell people, I'm like, think about when you were a kid. When you were a kid, you were creative, you were curious, you had a lot of the elements, and it seemed like life took it out of you. But when you were a kid, you had that sense in you. So it's important to have that. And I think it's really important. As I said, I met people who'd gone through horrible life events, and all they did was be like, okay, they were at peace and they laughed a lot, and that was important to them.
Wow. I do believe laughter. At times, I just know with me, when I'm going through certain things. And I guess that's one of the steps that you talk about in your 8 elements, is sometimes you have to sit back and laugh at yourself or laugh with others.
I do talk about laughing at yourself and not taking yourself so seriously. And that's something I had a problem with in my whole life, is because I did take myself seriously. And I think it's important to be like, it's okay. It doesn't take away from who I am. It's not a big deal.
Right.
Is it important, Dr. Laura, is it important to, like you say, you're taking yourself seriously, using, then you talked about humor, but when it comes to wisdom, how do you know that maybe taking yourself not so seriously or seriously may be a part or may not be a part of who you truly are? Because everyone is different. They're wired different. They're built different. So how does wisdom incorporate into that?
I think it's a lightness. It's feeling like, you know what? It's also kindness. Think of kindness. And it doesn't make you feel big to make someone else feel small. And by being humble and being kind, it shows that you're a big person. It shows that you are all of those. And so, in the same sense, being funny is a way to connect with people. And I think it's really important to go back to, it doesn't make you less than what you think, because it still shows that you're an important person. You still know that you are. And so it's a means of connecting.
The field of rational emotive behavioral therapy, which I practice, and we're going to have a guest on in a couple of weeks who is a international leader in this area, talks about these very key elements. That is to say that reality does not have to be the way we demand it to be. And we're tolerant and accepting and humble and curious and kind. And we know how to bounce forward, resilient. And we have some faith that maybe, it's not up to us. It's up to some higher power. And we can be creative. These are the things that you're talking about, Dr. G. And that's why I'm saying this is like the element of what brilliant psychological health is all about. This book called Common Wisdom is not so common. This is a genius book. You have touched on something so important, and I think it's invaluable.
Thank you. I mean, it's funny because, as I said, it's really important to feel like things don't happen to you; they happen for you.
Oh my goodness! Of course, we say that all the time.
That's how. If you view life with that lens, it's totally different. You're more resilient. You kind of overcome a lot more.
This show is anchored in inclusivity. This show is anchored in diversity. This show is anchored in equity. One of the pillars that you have of the 8 is tolerance, which can create harmony, create healthy communities. Talk a little bit about that one. Let's highlight that for a moment.
So it's funny because, as I said, there were a team of 3 of us, and we reviewed every video of every interview. And these were interviews that I did. And when someone said that they are patient with others and they are open or understanding of other viewpoints, we gave them tolerance. And so when they're open-minded. And so I feel like these days with the internet and how they have the algorithm of only showing you what you want, what you may put in the search bar, and they may keep showing you that, it kind of prevents tolerance. It kind of leads to more lopsidedness of people taking one road or the other. And I see that often now, and I'm like, really, just be more in the middle, kind of be open to all these different viewpoints. And that's a great way of connecting with others.
Absolutely. And this is why the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and the Blue Zones and these sort of movements on preventive health and well-being, lifestyle medicine rather than the pill, focuses on your social connection, your social fitness. And this is something you're driving and touching on. Real quickly, we just have a couple of moments left in this segment, but are you still practicing medicine with patients?
I am not. And as I said, it took a lot for me to accept that.
Okay.
And I had, going the whole route of medicine was a long haul.
Right.
It took a lot for me to be like, you know what, that's not my future.
We're going to talk about, Dr. G, we're going to talk about.
But this has been a gift. It led me to write this book.
Dr. G, we're going to talk some more about that, but we have to take a break. I'm going to toss it back to Dr. Cooley. It's all yours, sir.
I like how you introduced that break, Doc. So
come on, man. You weren't there. I was getting concerned.
Take us to break, Doc.
Time for a break. We need to take it.
I tell you what, whichever all of this knowledge, understanding, the key to wisdom that Dr. G is putting out, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back and we're going to beg for more. We're going to beg for more because it's your life. And if you want to be part of this, I already told you. The easiest way, pick up the phone and call Todd at 1-888-344-1170. Again, that's 1-888-344-1170. We're going to hear from Todd when we get back. So I'll tell you, it's your life. We'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James Cooley.
A black man's point of view is the newest Amazon doctor.
The James Cooley Show. It's your life.
Dr. James J.C. Cooley from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection.
You know, we live in a world today that people don't even care about how people see them. don't realize that we can affect an entire generation and build our character. But you gotta do it with these 4 C's. Create, collaborate, then you commit with confidence. Create, collaborate, then you commit with confidence. It's the 4 C's. It's the 4 C's. In this life you are gonna grow, but there's things in this world that you gotta know. To be the best that you can be, you wanna grow real big into a strong tree. To be who you were created to be.
Dr. JC Cooley. That's right.
Or order online at myrosatis.com. Rosatis, where Chicago deep dish pizza meets Temecula charm.
Listen up. It's Dr. JC Cooley. Yeah.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and I tell you, common wisdom. This guest has laid out elements and plans on how we can proceed and obtain wisdom. And I tell you, it requires work. I mean, none of us are the smartest person on earth, and we have to work together. And we have to learn to tolerate. We have to learn to love. We have to learn to share. We have to learn to be kind. And I'm loving all of this that talking about. And I'm curious to get about 30, 40 seconds from Todd. Todd, what you think about the show so far?
Great show, really good show. One thing that really stuck with me in the beginning, Dr. Gabayan talked about how a lot of the wise people she was talking with and interviewing were kind, were very kind. And that just, I think that means to me that they just kind of have they know the bigger picture. We're all in this together, and that really will stick with me the rest of the show. Let's get right back to Dr. Gabayan.
Yeah, let's get back because I don't want to lose another second. We got about 8 minutes left. And Dr. Cool, I think you got another question. Then we're going to turn it back over to Dr. Mike Mantell.
Thank you. Dr. Laura, so let's talk about how it's healthier and wiser to live with curiosity, being open to possibilities rather than demanding life to be a certain way. I mean, I do believe that, for people who are not open to change, they want life to be a certain way. But why is it healthier and wiser to explore all possibilities?
So, I had a patient. Sorry, I'm so used to saying patient, but I had a person I interviewed that the company she had started fell apart years before. And she talked about a phrase that she lives by. And I thought about it, I'm like, that's how we all should be, is how you have to be fiercely flexible. Again, I apologize for slurring, but being flexible. And that's something I'm having a hard time with because I'm so used to controlling everything. But I realized, the more flexible you are, the more go with the flow you are, the easier time you have, and same with the people around you. And you have no idea what the divine or the higher power has in store for you. And it just makes life easier, I feel like. It's definitely something that a lot of people, I'm sure, struggle with, and it's common too. But I feel like it's really important to have that trait.
I know that in my work with clients, I don't call them patients, but clients. I know when people move from rigid, inflexible thinking, from thinking that things are awful, horrible, and terrible to they're not good, to I can't tolerate this, to I don't like it. They live lighter, freer, healthier. They definitely have a sense of wisdom about them. And that's sort of what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like it goes to not taking yourself or anything seriously. It's kind of having that sense of peace, that sense that, you know, this is bad, but it'll work out.
It always does, doesn't it?
It
One
does.
way or another, it always works out.
One way or another.
Yeah. And so when you think about that we actually have the power to choose what we feel by the way we think. Choose the way we feel by the way we think. And as I look through your book, that's what pops through, that you're empowering people to understand how they can build a wiser, healthier life, and see more deeply beyond, oh, there's a traffic jam, this is terrible. Well, maybe there's something good about this traffic jam. Maybe I'm being diverted for my own good. And so, you know, I think looking at life through that lens that your book brings, Common Wisdom brings us, is very, very important. I have a question about this. You were a physician. You still have, you know, you're still in the health field in many ways. You still have that mindset and that education. Can you imagine how different the patient experience would be if the physician came into the room with the kind of wisdom you're talking about?
I thought about that, and I kind of can go both ways. Like, is a physician supposed to kind of create that barrier between them and the patient so that they can handle whatever they see? Or should the physician be more humanistic in the approach they have? And I always would tell the nurses they have a more realistic perspective because they haven't been in this road as long and kind of this inhumane way of treating people, so they can connect better. So I do think about that a lot. And I think, yes, it would be helpful if they had more of that connection. But are they the way they are because of what they do and see?
So wisdom, as you write about it in your book, Common Wisdom, is not binary. It's not on or off. It's not all or nothing. It's multifaceted. Let's talk a little bit about that.
And that's what bothered me initially before I did the project it was, oh, I see it when I know it type thing. We don't know what it is. And we had no definition of it. And I mean, lots of religious texts talk about it and famous people, but we really didn't know. And so that's why I did what I did. I really wanted to break it down, and I wanted everyone to be able to grasp it.
Wow. You know, this show has enlightened me. I'm gonna tell you, I did not know where we were gonna be going with the show, but now I'm excited about reading your book. Not saying I wasn't. I just got the information a little late, but excited about reading your book. Excited about what you're doing, and Dr. Mike and I would love to have you back on the show again.
I would love it.
If your schedule permits.
No, I love it. Thank you.
To continue to educate our viewers and our listeners on this great book and this great topic that you are talking about, because as I mentioned, we all are in search of wisdom. And if they use the elements that you identified, I believe that it would be easier for them to get an understanding through knowledge. Remember I said knowledge, understanding, action, focus on the key to unlock wisdom. And I think that that's what your book is all about. And how can people get in touch with you? We got about a minute.
I have a website, lauragabayan.com. I also, initially when I did the project, I had the Wisdom Research Project website, and that leads to my website, and that was created for the interviewees. And so you can use either one, and you can access me through the LauraGabayan.com.
How can they get your book? How can they buy your book?
And on the book is sold on Amazon, and all different modalities: ebook, audiobook, soft cover, hardcover. So whatever works for you.
Wow, I want to thank you for taking the time to come on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. G. Fantastic. The impact you're having is unbelievable. So thank you.
Thank you. I like to thank Dr. Mike. You already know. My
pleasure always. See you next week.
Dr. Michelle Cooley for putting together another show. I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners for always tuning into our show Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time live. I'd like to thank the studio, KCBQ, but I tell you what, always dream big, think big, and be big at everything that you do. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life.
Are you involved in a family or civil legal dispute? Small disagreements can end.